it's Teacher Lisa here from Learning with Lisa. On my channel, you will find tips and tricks of teaching online, and I will help you to begin your amazing journey working remotely or working from home. Please, if you have not already, hit the subscribe button to my channel, and you will be able to see all the videos that are coming up regarding Outschool and VIPKID. Please also like this video and leave any comments, questions that you have, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. You can also email me at learningwithlisa20@gmail.com. If you are looking to teach for Outschool online, be sure to check out my free Outschool application guide. So this is going to walk you through exactly how to complete the application process. It's going to give you examples as well as some of my YouTube videos that connect to that part of the application. So be sure to grab that because it is free and it's all yours to help guide you through the application. Hey everyone, so I am on my Zoom account, and you can practice on a free Zoom account or you can purchase a Zoom account. We do the collaboration videos, which hopefully some of you have checked those out. So we each have our own Zoom account, and in order to do the collaboration live on YouTube, we have to have the paid version. So I currently have the paid version, but I just kind of want to show you some of the different features on Zoom, and some of these are just very basic, but again, enough to just get the feel of what you're going to be working with when you are in your own Outschool classroom. So first thing I want to make note is I kind of just did my cell phone here so you can see me as a student, just so you can see when I show you in the participants box, you'll be able to see another student besides me as the classroom teacher. So the first thing that I want to share is to make sure that you are in gallery view. So this right here is gallery view. This is going to be where I can see myself and I can see the student. If you look up here, if I were to change the speaker view, it's going to put the student in the center and me kind of out. So I want to make sure that I'm in gallery view so that I can see all of my students at once and they're not kind of missing or off to the side. The next thing I'd like to do is I want you to know is that when you are in Zoom and when you're in your Outschool Zoom classroom, as soon as you are in there waiting, it is recording. So make sure maybe on your headset that you mute your headset and then also cover your camera. I have like this little bag that I made. I just cut off a bag that you would buy like at CVS or Walgreens, and I just put it right over my camera and it covers. So make sure you do that before your class starts because it is always recording as soon as you step into the classroom. And I would definitely make sure that you are in the classroom at least 5 minutes before class starts. And then once the 5-minute mark is there, then that's when you can take the bag or whatever you use to cover your external camera or your camera on your computer, and then make sure that you unmute your headset as well. So let's kind of go through some of these features that are here. So on the left side, you're going to see mute, you're going to see stop video. Those are just basically your audio and your video screen in your camera. So you don't really have to do anything with that. What are some of the things I do want to focus on is participants. So if you click on participants, you will see the host, which is me, that's the teacher. And then you will also see Lisa's iPhone, which is, I'm pretending like I'm a student. But in this box here, participants, you're going to see all of the students listed. So then you are going to be able to make sure that your students are muted, and you could rename your students. Let's say that 2 of your students have the same name. You want to rename them, you could do that. So that's just a great way for you to kind of just see who everybody is in there. Now, as your students are coming into the classroom, they're in the waiting room, make sure that you are checking those students off on a list and making sure that they are to be in your classroom. That's very important, which I will kind of talk more in depth with that as we go through. So participants is just going to be the list of your students in your classroom. So make sure again that that name matches with the roster. If the student for some reason is not supposed to be in your classroom, or maybe their name is not correct, have them log out of that account and then they can come right back in as the correct name that was listed for the class roster. The next thing I want to look at is the chat box. So here the chat box is going to be for students to chat. I can also type in a message and chat as well, and that goes to everyone. Now at the bottom here you'll see everyone, and I can click just Lisa's iPhone, and that's going to go privately just to Lisa's iPhone, the message just for her, and the students will not be able to see that. So that's a great feature, especially if you have a class that has, you know, at least 10 or more kids. You don't want to be talking to everyone. You just want to address specifically that student. That's a great feature to have. But generally, I'd say have it on everyone, and then that way your chat can go, your response can go to everyone. Also, please, as you are teaching, if you are teaching a class that is for older kids, you are going to want to kind of keep an eye on that chat box, because that is a place sometimes that kids like to, hey, so-and-so, get off task, send little comments. And what I'd like to say is that if it's not appropriate for the chat box, it's not appropriate for the classroom. So that's something that just to keep in mind, and that's one of the management tips that I will cover in another upcoming video. And also, please give them a warning. Don't just say, okay, you're cut off from the chat box. Make sure that you give them a warning so that they know your expectations, and hopefully you reviewed that in the beginning when you went over your class rules. So when you are in the chat box, and let's say that you decide that you need to have a private chat with Lisa's iPhone or your student Johnny because they are being rude and they're making rude comments, and you know you want to try and manage your class so that everyone else is able to learn, and is not disrupted by Johnny's comments. So one thing I want you to be aware of is that you can have private conversations, and hopefully that will get them, you know, back on track. Let's say that they are not going to get back on track, or let's say that they decide to start doing funny things on the camera. You can go right up to their name up in the participant box, and you can have them be put in the waiting room. So when they're put in the waiting room, it's kind of like a timeout in a sense, but honestly, I think this is something that like is to the extreme. And I think we need to make sure that we manage it on our own before we're going to the result of putting the student in the waiting room. Then there's also the feature of removing the student. That is removing the student from the entire class, and they cannot come back into the class. So once you hit remove, they cannot be asked to come back. Where if you put them in the waiting room for a temporary timeout, kind of just get refocused is a better way to put it, and then you can bring them back into the classroom. So that is something to think about as well. Now, I'd like you to see that you are able to shut off their camera on their screen. So you can do that as well. So if that becomes an issue where the student cannot or is not focused and they're making distractions on the camera, you can shut off their camera so that the other students are not distracted. So those are just some little tips to kind of help with the management. And I will again cover that more in another video, but just I wanted just to touch it real brief so that you know that these features are there. So again, if you put them in the waiting room, they can come back in the classroom. If you remove them from the class, then they are not able to come back to the class at all. So that's when you're going to want to get in touch with the parent as well as notify Outschool that that action has been taken. So again, that is the last resort to the extreme. So I would find different strategies to help manage your classroom, especially when you have older kiddos and you have kiddos that maybe are friends in the class, or you have a big group of kids in a classroom. So one more thing that I would like to mention is just over here in the participant box, you will see you can mute all of your students. So let's say that the students are coming in, if you don't have the feature on where the students are muted when they come into the classroom and they're all not muted, you can easily just mute all of your students right away in the beginning, especially when you are going over your rules and just kind of introducing yourself. But that's a great, easy way to just mute all of the kids so that you don't get those outside distractions. Also, over here, you'll see the three dots. And the three dots is going to be to ask all the students to unmute. So if it is mute all, then that would be to unmute. And then here you also have like the option which I mentioned, mute participants upon entry. So I have that checked. So all of my students that come in the classroom, they'll be muted and then they can unmute themselves as we begin introduction. You can also have allow the students to have the option of unmuting themselves. So these are just different options that you want to kind of check through and go through and see what you want your students to be able to do when they come into the classroom. Allowing them to be able to rename themselves. Is that something that you want? This is very important. Playing the sound when someone joins or leaves the classroom. So when the student comes, clicks on the link for the Zoom class, then they are in a waiting room and then it'll say for you as a host, admit, and it'll ding. It'll make like a doorbell sound. And so that is a really good feature to have, especially when you're talking and, engaging with whoever is in the classroom already. It's nice to be able to hear that noise so that you can make sure that you get them into the classroom right away and they're not sitting in the waiting room too long. And then just you can either enable the waiting room or have it or not have it at all. So again, those are just some features that you want to go through and kind of just see what you want your students to be able to do. Okay, so the last thing that I want to mention, and I promise, and we will wrap this video up, is when you are looking at the bottom, so the different features, you're going to see in green here, the shared screen. So this is going to give you that option of the annotation. So being able to have the students write on the board as well as you write on a board. So you would click on the whiteboard and then you would hit share. And then you would be able to draw and use the different features up here to kind of show the kids what you're trying to do, maybe a sample or a drawing or whatever it is. But this is a great way to incorporate that into your Zoom lessons as well. So this is really basic. There's obviously a lot more to it and we could go into the features another time, but I just want you to know that it is there. Also, I want you to know that not just the share screen button, but you'll see this little arrow on the right side. That is going to show you that right now it's clicked on one participant, so that is only me. But then if I click multiple participants, that means that everybody can have a chance to annotate as well. And this can become an issue of classroom management, so this is something that you're going to want to make sure that you monitor well. And you can also have the students not be able to be involved in drawing on the board. So that is something that you could manage if need be. So I just want to show you that that is there. So you're going to hit share screen and then that's going to give you the annotation that you can use with the whiteboard, with you as just a classroom teacher or as an entire class. So I've shared with you some of the just basic features that are on Zoom. It obviously can go into a lot more depth, especially when you're adding more devices. But I just want you to have an idea just to get you started on your first few classes teaching with Outschool. So one thing I'd like to make note is when you are looking at your checklist of your students on your roster and you're checking them off as they come into the waiting room, make sure that you are keeping that information. You're keeping track of who is present in your lesson. You're keeping track of any behavior issues, anything that would go wrong. Maybe if there was a parent question or the parent reached out to you kind of in the beginning of the video, just keep note of everything that goes on in that class and just keep that handy just in case you ever need to get back with a parent or you need to contact support with Outschool, you have that information all available in one place and with that class. So make sure you have like the date, the time, the class that you're teaching, all of the students on the roster, who showed up, who didn't show up, any parent issues, anything that you could possibly think of, make sure you keep that noted. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and let you get started. So please watch this video and go practice in your free Zoom account. You can even add your devices or add family members and just play around with it and teach on camera. Get used to that, especially if you have never taught online before. And I would love to help you begin your journey. So if you are just checking things out for the first time and you have not decided to teach with Outschool, I would love to help you. So please subscribe to my channel. Please email me at learningwithlisa20@gmail.com and I will get you started on getting things going for teaching with Outschool. I thank you so much for watching this video, and as always, go learn something new.